Live from Studio 67 in Florida's capital county, it's time to get fact-checked.
Access granted.
Greetings and humble salutations, good folk. It is your favorite public policy team. I'm Tonette. Hey, Peter.
Hey, Tonette.
And we've got a very special guest with us this Friday, our deputy himself, Mr. Jeff Scala. Hey, Jeff.
How we doing? It's a good Friday here in Tallahassee.
I mean, we made it through week 4, right?
Ooh, yeah, coming up on the midway point of session, allegedly.
Hey, that's what they say, right? Never can tell. We've had a lot of exciting things going on this week. Manatee Days, Pasco Days, St. John Days, and Peter got to go to the Keys reception.
Oh, my God.
So
President.
jealous.
Those conch fritters were just the right size, so the inside of them were perfectly cooked. The fried shrimp was delicious.
Did you get key lime pie on a stick?
I did get key lime pie on a stick, and it was delicious.
Just rub it in. Why don't you? Rub it in. Rub it in. Did anybody get a chance to try the shrimp and grits with Leader Boyd for Manatee Days?
No, we had Intergov, right, Jeff? Intergov,
Yeah,
right?
we had one of those marathon meetings. It's
Missed it.
the 4-hour meeting.
Missed it. I was in Criminal J. Nonetheless, we are here. Happy Friday, guys. We're going to get right down to it. So, for our deputy's download, he's here to do it himself. Jeff, just give us an update and rundown on property tax. All things just where we are in session.
Well, I love that I get to do this segment. I've heard about it. I've gotten to listen to the deputy's download. But here today,
Yeah.
deputy giving the download. Property tax, this has kind of been like the lightest week of session on property tax.
Mm-hmm.
Each week we've kind of had that slow trickle from the House. We have 3 bills that are ready for the floor. The phase-out elimination of property tax, the modifications on the assessment limitations, that bill, changing the 3% cap on safer homes and safer businesses. That's ready. That's House Bill Joint Resolution 213. And 209 on the exemption. If you have property insurance, you get that $200,000 exemption. Trying to kind of confuse the people of what's the main issue out there. Is it property insurance or is it property tax? Those are the 3 that are ready.
Okay.
Nothing this week, which, the Senate Finance and Tax Committee, they didn't meet. The House Ways and Means Committee, they just had a brief meeting. They didn't hear any of the property tax related bills. The only property tax bills that were up this week are the bill that we supported.
The disclosure one, right?
Disclosure.
Right. Finally, they got an up from Jeff for
Yeah.
the red on property tax.
And that was just like a nice opportunity to just say, hey, here's something that FAC does support. And what is it? We support transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Because when someone goes to buy a house, their realtor, or if they go on Zillow, they see what the current owner of that house is paying. But what this says, they have to recalculate, or if they're going to put something out on the internet, they have to make sure or link to the property appraiser's website or tax collector to make sure that they report something accurate in year 2. Because what happens? You get reassessed because of Save Our Homes. And that value moves from what the previous owner had and all the value that was off the rolls to this new value. So new arrivals in Florida, some new first-time home buyers, what do they think?
Right.
The local government raised my taxes. Why did it double? This is wild. No, that's the nature of our system, and it's the reason. It's reason why Save Our Homes has this distortionary impact. Mm-hmm. So we got to support that. Support Senator DeSegli, Representative Anderson. It's something that the Pinellas County Property Appraiser has been pushing the last few years, but kind of has some added context, subtext this session. So we're still in the lurch. We're still trying to figure out. I know. I hear lobbyists throughout the Capitol. They're like, this is what's going to happen on property tax. This is what's going to happen. I know. Listen, I've heard 1,000 rumors. I'm going to hear 1,001 more.
Are they trying to get it? Like, is it going to get to the ballot? Like, do we know?
Well, the deadline's May 10th, right?
Yeah, they
we're
do.
pushing it.
They got deadlines. They got to make sure that the ballots can be printed, that all the supervisors can comply with those things, that the language checks out. But something's going to get on the ballot. I think the speaker has been clear about that. The Senate has been, signaling if that's in regular session, maybe a special session, that they'll fulfill the governor's goal of giving the voters something to vote on come November. So, again, probably moves along with the budget and We're week 4.
Speaking about the budget, there was some drama this week.
Yeah. Week 4 is one of those weeks where in some sessions, in those ordinary sessions, we might get those budgets from the House and Senate where they get, their first look in the either the House Budget Committee or the Senate Appropriations Committee. But not right now. This year the House is a host of the budget. So that means we'll be watching for House Bill 5001, which is the General Appropriations Act, not 2500. Of course, they'll file that over in the Senate. And the Senate said, you know what, we're going to take a pause. We don't want to be the first one to put out the budget. That's usually reserved for who's hosting. So we're going to see them next week. The House will release their budget. The Senate will do that too, which puts us into week 5 for a budget. And we got to see if allocations, and I don't even think we're even close to that time period yet on seeing if they, come in close, maybe not. Do they hit their 60-day deadline? Maybe not. We'll see how, I know, we have some PTSD from last session of going over 100.
Was it like 101, right? It was like right.
It went well. It was 105 when they 102 was on the desk. Because of course they have the 72-hour cooling off period, but we got that June 30th deadline, so hopefully we come in clean and don't need something like a CR. I don't even know how that would work. That's like a DC thing.
Let's just see. Listen, I left all of that in DC. Let's get it right, Florida, this time. Okay.
It seems like when they wrap this up, it's actually going to be hot because it has been cold this session. My goodness.
Ridiculous.
Well,
absolutely ridiculous.
Winter sessions.
30 degrees.
Yeah, we had some. I had to drip my pipes, make sure we don't have a.
Oh yeah, about that.
Oh, Peter. That comes with experience.
You live and you learn.
Yeah, it comes with experience. You got to know to drip. But even in South Florida, I saw that FWC rounded up a bunch of frozen iguanas. We removed like 3,000 or 4,000 iguanas.
Crazy.
I saw a pizzeria in North Miami do a iguana meat pizza, and I think that's a stretch. But okay, Florida.
Iguana meat.
I don't think you're supposed to eat that.
It's a delicacy in South America.
Well, to each their own.
Learn something new every day. They might have that at Day Days next week. Let's see. Peter, what's going on in the ag world, friend?
Well, the DAX package, as I mentioned last week, last podcast, was TP'd. There was a lot of stakeholder concerns. Some shots were fired between the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs and the Senate Rules chair. Well, it is agended for Senate Rules this upcoming week. We hope that the bill sponsor and the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Affairs has worked out those kinks. I know that in the House it had a lengthy hearing. There was some problems raised in committee about Section 47 about disparaging sugar, big sugar, and different food items. And we had an interesting testimony from the Captains for Clean Water stating that this was a violation of the First Amendment rights. Rep. Alvarez is definitely hearing their concerns to give a passionate closing testimony. It should be a little tamer in Senate rules. As we know, President Pasadomo likes to run a tight ship. But that's what we got in the ag world. Unfortunately, the House is not really budging on their version of the rural renaissance. We know that is a point of contention between the two chambers. We will keep watching, but that's what we got.
All
right, keeping you busy.
Bills with, you said Section 47. I bet there's even more there too. That's a long bill to read through.
And it makes you wonder. I mean, Captains for Clean Water, they definitely advocate for no oil drilling, for clean water, for against the red tide. So there was a couple questions going around as to, their angle was First Amendment and where that was coming from. So we will keep digging.
Oh, wow. That is definitely interesting. Definitely interesting. I was like, I wonder how things are going to play out with the Rural Renaissance Bill. Do you think they might get a pass this year? You know, a little sympathy for Mr. Senate President?
I know that the Rural Renaissance passed in the Senate version by Senator Simon passed the first floor session. But like I just mentioned, I mean, the House Rep Abbott has a Rural Counties Bill. It's an interesting title. But it has some of the appropriations to fiscally constrained counties. It does not have the revision of the fiscally constrained county definition, however, which is a priority for those counties. And it's not moving. So unfortunately, my prediction would be that it is not going to pass.
Oh, well, thought we were just going to get a little grace for him this year. Well, we'll see. It's still what? Midpoint, still a little early. Highlight for my week was having one of our very own Leon County Commissioner and a member of our Ledge Exec team, Commissioner Rick Minor, was here, and he actually attended committee with us in the House to support House Bill 53, the Rapid Rail Transit Compact Bill sponsored by Representative Yvonne Hinton. That bill authorizes Florida to join a multi-state rapid rail compact, establishes the Southern Rail Commission to study and advocate for regional rails, and it requires congressional approval for taking that into full effect. So it was really good to actually see him come share his story. He also shared the letter that I think about 70 of our county commissioners signed on and gave leadership last year. So to actually pick that up and see that moving, we'll see what happens on the Senate side. See if they have an appetite for it. Maybe they might tag that on Senator Gates', transportation package. I don't know. We'll see. But it was very good to see him and have him testify in committee this week.
Tonette, as a train nerd, I really hope that this happens. I mean, from my understanding, I heard in committee, that area, the Panhandle, Mississippi, Alabama, had a train already, had a railroad. Unfortunately, it fell out of use.
Yeah, we had a stop here.
Yeah, even
through
still
the
here, right
Amtrak,
through
too.
Railroad Square. That's why that's called that. Like literally back in the day, that's how my grandparents would travel to see family in South Florida and North Carolina up to Carolinas.
I've been very lucky to visit Europe and use their train systems, and boy, I mean, that is a marvel.
Well, hopefully we can get the Senate on board.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who has it in the Senate?
We're gonna hopefully get.
Well, that's
pick it up
gonna
in his package.
transportation
Okay.
package.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see. Hopefully, wishful thinking. But we're not counting it out yet. We're going to keep just doing the work and working to the end. Mr. Deputy, pivoting back over to you. All right, give us the rundown on growth management.
And growth
this week.
management, and I got to talk about some of the FAFO stuff later in the show too.
Yeah, you got to.
It was a long week.
That's your
It was
buddy.
a long week,
Y'all
but
got
but
lunch
in growth,
today?
yeah. Oh, I need my energy, even though it's Friday. Every week we got a series of growth management bills moving. If it's ag enclave, if it's things on impact fees, private provider, qualified contractor, infill. I do want to highlight that infill redevelopment bill. That's House Bill 979 by Representative Barrero. This is one where they're really trying to target certain properties, redevelopment on, they say, environmentally sensitive lands. It seems that this bill is really focused in on golf courses and redeveloping to a certain standard. When a golf course goes under, they want to be able to infill. Oftentimes a lot of these bills, whether it's the ag enclave or infill, get tossed into the affordable housing bucket, if you will, instead of us working to try to find the right spot for all those developments. Really what all these are after are administrative approval. So they're trying to seek changes to the way your public participates. So this is an ongoing theme. I talk about the legislature as the planning and zoning board. Each session they're just chipping away. Live Local started that process and for a laudable goal on affordable housing. But a number of these, we have to be very targeted when we see those changes. So a few of these bills, they're continuing to move. Check our legislative bill tracker on those. However you get your news through us, Ledge Bowl, you name it. We'll have the full details of those bills in there too. But if I may,
Yes, sir.
talk about the FAFO related bills, or
really
the priorities of the chief financial officer.
Entertain us, please.
Well, some of
and the Doge report was released.
That's right, Peter. Last week, a couple weeks late, the Department of Governmental Efficiency released their long-awaited report that tried to highlight, local government spending. The report itself, we thought that we might see data from 67 counties in there, since we had 67 counties respond to the requests.
And they worked very hard to compile every single county.
Yeah, each county and all the staff time that went into that. No, what we got in there were 8 counties that were identified, and 5 cities, and the 5 cities includes Jacksonville, Duval. And there were certain spending that they were highlighting. They didn't go through the spreadsheets and data that you all submitted, but that report is now available. But really, it's teeing up, because there are some legislative changes recommended in there. There's a series of bills. So there's one on creating a Florida Audit Fiscal Office or something, FAFO, in that realm. They love acronyms at the state level.
Florida Agency of Fiscal Oversight.
Oh, there it is.
Please
That's right.
clarify.
That's
Thank
what
you.
that means. I know usually there's like a chart with like a direction, and something happens as you go up the chart. Anyway, then there's the bill on local government spending, and those bills were up. The House bill was up this week. The Senate bill is going to be up and moving next week. About budget reporting, accountability is a great goal.
Yep.
But there's certain things in these bills that lack consistency to how our processes work. A budget is static. A ledger or something is going to be more dynamic. So we're putting in input, to try to, refocus some of these transparency efforts, because of course we want the public to know and understand what's in our budgets. The other bill I'll talk about this week is House Bill 1001 and Senate Bill 1134, titled Official Actions by Local Governments. And this is the DE&I bill, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, where there's going to be a prohibition. And I'm not going to focus my time on what is DEI, because the bill tries to define it. It also provides a Swiss cheese number of exceptions and clarifications.
No comment.
Which holidays can local governments still support versus others? Because there were plenty of examples of what didn't get captured in the definition. But what it has in here is a cause of action that any resident of a county may bring against the county, even if they weren't an impacted, didn't have a concrete injury. And if they bring that cause of action, there could be a finding of misfeasance or malfeasance. And those words carry particular weight, because they may lead to the removal of our county commissioners or staff under this bill. So, the vagueness in here, we don't want, county officials or commissioners to think that they were following sound legal advice, but then this gray area pops up. And, what they thought was a lawful, routine government function ends up being considered DEI after the fact. So, these are the ideas and concepts that popped up in the Doge report. We'll be watching these as we go down
to be interesting.
through the rest of the session.
Definitely going to be interesting. Wow. I definitely want to, before I kick it over to you, Peter, to give us an update on tech, I just want to pivot back to the transportation package real quick and give credit where credit is due. The Senate transportation packet is being carried by the chair, none other than Dr. Senator Masulo. I mentioned Gates earlier because I just feel like, he's the OG in the Senate.
Yeah.
Like, another time around, go home.
I believe they refer to him as the Lion.
Oh, the
Senate.
Lion. Okay. The Lion of the Senate. I mean, all things transportation. You learned so much. I found out that he has a really, really, he's very passionate about animals, him and his wife. I learned that this week working on Senate Bill 1356 and House Bill 1521, the Pet Sales and Handling of Animals Bill, which creates a new state oversight and registration requirements for dog breeders and expands consumer protections related to pet sales and financing. It also designates violations as unfair trade practices under state law. So even though Rep. Weinberger is carrying it on the House side and Senator Garcia on the Senate side, I did learn that this is something that the Lion Senator Gates is very passionate about. So I think one of the things for me, I got a lot of history this week from different lobbyists, just talking to staff, talking to members, just learning the different dynamics of while some might serve on one committee and do something in another, just their passion and everything. You know, you just always have like that one person that you just go to and just ask questions and get everything. I think it's safe to say right now that that's the Lions, Senator Gates. So whether it's rapid rail transit, transportation, impact fees, property tax, all the things, you know, I just feel like they, and then as a former president. I mean, they could just bounce.
He's been around the chamber before.
Everything, like he probably knows it in his sleep. He can get around, literally get around the plaza and all floors in his sleep. So yeah, Peter, what happened in the world of tech this week?
Well, a couple things. Data centers. Data centers in the Senate. The Senate version is moving, and it's moving quickly. This is the bill that tries to regulate data centers across the state in recognizing the concerns that are being brought up with data center siting in other states like Virginia. Folks are worried that they are going to overload the grid, that they're going to pass on costs to consumers, and that they're going to be using too much water. So this is one of the governor's priorities, to try to rein in these big bad data centers, which in some cases, are these big behemoth buildings that are just requiring too much energy. The bill does retain local land use authority, requires new consumptive use permit framework, saying that the water that they use has to, in some cases, use reclaimed water, has to be in the public interest, allows a PSC to establish tariffs so that the rates don't get passed on to the consumers. There is a little bit of political side to this, however, because both the Senate and House version were written by the governor, from my understanding, and the House version is stalled. It has not been heard in its first committee.
Okay, but I've got a question on that. Is it a data center or is it a data center?
Yeah, I've heard both. Tomato, tomato.
Pecan. I mean, you know.
I like to say
how certain are you?
Yeah. Well, this build, we had a very interesting conversation on data centers at our legislative conference in Tampa this past year, where we had a developer and then we had the utility commenting on data centers, and the developer said that many folks around the country consider Florida open. So we welcome retaining a local control for these unique needs, for the unique needs that data centers are going to be requiring. And then we have an interesting new technology and a bill, the Advanced Air Mobility Bill by Senator Harrell and Rep. Spencer, a kind of a bipartisan effort here. Mm-hmm. If any of you listeners have seen the Jetsons, I know I did when I was a kid. Or you
came to FAC conference last summer, or was it 2 years ago when we had that great workshop?
I wasn't there, but...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, these things, what you describe them, like they got like all these propellers.
Right, so think of it as like a drone, but a drone that is like a passenger drone, and it's vertical takeoff. So, I like to think of it as like a mini helicopter, but they're usually electric. And so the bill is trying to establish a framework for regulation of where they land, the vertiports, their charging stations, and trying to get ahead of the game, because the federal government is also trying to regulate this as well. So it does have a couple preemptions on the design of the vertiports, the construction of the vertiports, and their charging stations. It does retain local authority over zoning and noise issues. We are evaluating the impact of how this will affect our public airports, just because, we have all these big commercial jets, and then we're going to have these smaller passenger. I think the rep has mentioned that they could be used for taxis, like short distances.
Yeah, I think like in an urban area in the future, right? Really thinking about Jetsons, they're going to be able to land on one building,
right?
Like take off from one and land on another high rise,
right?
So like when you want to get from Miami to Fort Lauderdale, you're going to be able to do it in 15 minutes, instead of being stuck in gridlock.
And just when I thought the Bright Line was everything.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because as a kid, I would always complain when I was with my mom in traffic in Miami, and I say, "Man, Mom, why can't we just get a helicopter and just jump all over these cars?" And I mean, I guess this might be a solution. But we are speaking with both the Senate and House sponsor to make sure that the bill is in proper posture. But that's for tech. Do you want me to do a little bit of environment?
Sure, why not?
Well, we have some good news in the environment world when it comes to preemptions, because it looks like the big bad water preemption has stalled. This is a bill that would prohibit any activity upland of a wetland. I mean, that could mean anything under the sun. And then there's the standards for stormwater bill that seems to have taken a pause as well. And Senate Enviro Committee is not meeting next week, which I thought was interesting.
Right.
But the standard for stormwater bill, I mean, it wanted to standardize stormwater system installation across the state. It's got to be FDOT standards. And while I've gotten feedback from many counties that many folks do use the material specifications for their construction, the sponsor is trying to make it so that every county has to use FDOT specifications, and FDOT specifications are more for rights of way. They're for next to roads, and not all public stormwater systems are by roads, and some rural communities might not need this kind of standard, and some more urban communities have higher standards. So obviously one size fits all is not applicable here. Thankfully, we've spoken with several senators who have raised some concerns, and it looks like for now it might be stalled. But then there's an interesting bill, and it is the prohibition of net zero policies. This is a don't New York, don't California, my Florida. And it is prohibiting local governments from doing anything that is kind of climate change related. But it defines net zero in a very, very broad umbrella. And says we can't establish policies or ordinances that try to achieve a goal of reducing carbon emissions. We can't do cap and trade. And we've spoken with the Senate sponsor to relay the concerns, because there's a provision in the bill that says we can't establish preferences, or we can't procure products, technology. Let's just use EV buses as an example. If our intent is to reduce net zero. So we were trying to ascertain whether that means we can't procure EV buses for the sake of that they might not for the fact that they might be cleaner, but that they might reduce costs in the long term. Yeah. We can't change a county building's whole lighting system, because that new lighting system would be cheaper in the long term. But I mean, there's language in the description of the product that might say it is cleaner. Thankfully, the bill sponsor did clarify that as long as we go through the procurement process, we don't jump over it and establish a preference, and we're not just using a product or preferring an industry just for the sake of it being cleaner. We should be good. But there might, it looks like it might have been just more of a statement than an actual movement. But we will definitely be watching that.
All right, that's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens in the days and weeks ahead. I think we have, 35 days remaining before Sine Die?
Allegedly.
Well, in the HSJ world, on Tuesday, Senate Rules Committee passed Senate Bill 504 and 506, sponsored by Senator Burgess unanimously, and that is the statutory framework for the use of body cameras by local government code enforcers. The bill authorizes but does not require counties and other local governments to allow code inspectors to wear body cameras and mandates that any entity doing so adopt detailed policies on use, training, storage, retention, and compliance review. So we had the opportunity to support that, and the House Companion 509 by Representative Partington is moving as well. A good bill I had the opportunity to work, and Mr. Deputy, you'll see at the end when we get to shout out the legislator that we enjoyed working with this week. So I'll just go ahead and pivot to mine real quick. The Honorable Representative Danny Alvarez. But Representative Danny Alvarez from Hillsborough County carried PCS 1427. This is the infamous public safety bill, which he's been working on for the last few years. The bill would require all counties to establish an emergency communication center to serve as a single point of contact for 911 emergency calls and dispatch services. The bill would also provide each county convene an executive board by October 1st, 2026, where they'd have to make a unanimous decision on who would oversee everything. And in the event they did not, all control would default to your local sheriffs. That bill was TP'd in InterGov earlier this week, and the Senate Companion, carried by Senator Stan McClain, 558, has yet to move. So we'll see. Maybe he might get it in another bill, maybe next year. It'll be interesting. But it was definitely a pleasure working with him, Reese, his staff, and just him hearing our concerns, having an open door policy. Like, literally, I don't know if you all saw it. Oh, you saw it, Peter, when he was coming out of Enviro. When was that? On Wednesday.
Yep.
Wednesday, he was coming out of Enviro, and all of the folks literally bombarded him coming out. And he was just like, okay, he said in committee, I'll talk to you all until midnight. I don't mind. And he saw me, and he said, oh, I know what you're here for, 1427. Reese, grab her. We'll meet you upstairs. Literally, we got upstairs. It was 50 people in the suite waiting to see him. So we ended up having to pull him out the floor. But again, he listened to us. He heard our concerns, and we're looking forward to seeing the work we can do to hopefully move this piece. Maybe next year. We'll see.
The good work, can sometimes jump the line, and if not, catch them later. And, that's just you putting in the good work of working the bill, right?
Listen, teamwork makes the dream work. We're all in this together. We are all in this together. All right, before we close out, Peter, just let me know what you're looking forward to most next week. Sum up this week in one word, and shout out your favorite legislator.
Okay, yeah, definitely. This week in one word was definitely hectic, but it was one word, hectic. Favorite legislator, I had a pleasure talking to Senator Avila. I did not have a chance to meet him before this meeting on Net Zero, and it was nice to see a senator from my home district. We talked about cafecito, croquetas, and good Cuban food, so that was great, and he had his aides are a pleasure as well. And on that topic, I am excited for Days, Paella, Mambo Kings. It's gonna be great, man. I can't wait.
What about you, Mr. Deputy?
Well, word of the week, I'm going to go with confusing. One trend we've seen is that one chamber is moving some bills, the other chamber isn't moving its companion, and then we got others, they're kind of going in different lanes. Mm-hmm. They're not sure who they want to be yet. They, got bills over here, bills over there. So it's a bit confusing. I think that's what week 4 normally gives us, some confusion, some head fakes. Hopefully we get some clarity. I'd love to report back next week that week 5 gave us clarity. But as far as
speak that into the atmosphere.
Yeah,
clarity.
You got to speak it into
existence.
Manifest. Yes. So I would say it would be Senator Martin, and I think on the last few podcasts, you guys might have talked about a few of the bills that we've been working on.
Preemption to end all preemption.
Yes, we call that the hashtag Vice and Virtue, or Virtue and Vice preemption. Someone told me that's going to be the next another album cover, Virtue and Vice. But but no, then he had the bill that just had but wait, there's more preemption. But Senator Martin and I, we actually got to spend, a lot of time outside of the committee chamber, just getting to, talk all the issues. Those are the extracurricular things that happen during session and the bonds you form.
He seems like a good sport.
Just talking about, all of the things that make up living in Florida and the Florida experience. So I appreciated that good quality time with Senator Martin this week.
Yeah, and what you looking forward to for next week?
Well, I'm not a big fan of the paella. But
it's not. It's good.
It's
good for Tallahassee.
but what I do love is that you really just can't get the yuca, along with the ropa or the lechon. I love me some lechon, but that.
What
yuca.
year they made an alligator on the hood of a cop car? I remember that.
What?
A couple years ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think they're going to do that again.
I don't think that's that might be like the iguanas. I don't think that's in my
gators
wheelhouse.
Are awesome. It's delicious. I love gator.
Oh wow. For me, I would have to say word of the week, pressure, but in a good way. I think this week definitely built us collectively as a team with our leadership, with your leadership, Jeff. We are grateful for you. I think this week literally just taught us how to, in week 4, come together, overcome challenges, and just really just help strengthen and build us up with pressure as we continue to finish out this session strong. And if I would have to shout out I already did my legislator. Hi, Rep. Alvarez, Danny Alvarez from Hillsborough County. And next week, of course, date days, but I would be remiss if I did not shout out the Red Army, the dynamic, devastating divas of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. We had our days on Monday and Tuesday, and the Honorable House Minority Leader Fentrice Driscoll is a member of our sorority. Representative Felicia Robinson is a member, as well as Rep. Michelle Rayner from St. Pete Alumni Chapter. So shout out to my sorority sisters coming up to advocate. Thank you for the legislators who took time to meet with them. We definitely we had a time.
Yeah, and Peter and I got to join you to watch the Big Boss Man on a great legislative panel.
When the rules change.
When the rules change. But I feel like he got to, really represent, the Florida Association of Counties well to a huge group of people. And if I can.
Everybody enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for coming to support.
It was awesome. It was inspirational, honestly.
Listen, you said pressure. We know what comes after pressure. What makes, we can make diamonds out of pressure. So hopefully this session we're shimmering by the end.
Listen, fact full of diamonds at the end. That's the plan. All right, good folks, it's been real. Until next week, we will see you. It's been your favorite local government public policy team. I'm Tonette, have Peter, and we have our deputy himself, Jeff, joining us. Until next time, take good care.